Yeah, we're going live. Okay, so we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our second masterclass. And for today's masterclass, right here are some points of discussion that we'll cover today. So there are three areas that we need to cover. The first one is the basic theory of prompt engineering. So we will not go through lots of details because I think some of you are also interested to see how to apply it, how to integrate it into the chatbot, right? So the second part is like how we can build custom ChatGPT using the template that we already prepared. So in this session, like we'll learn how to. I'll demo how to basically revamp the entire template so that we can create a custom ChatGPT. So if you have any ideas on what to build, please post it on the chat box, and basically I'll pick one so I can showcase like to be so we can implement it on this. Demo it during this session as well. The third one is how to build multi-prompt chatbot using the other template, but we'll cover like part 3 when we have time. So without further ado, like let's start with the first one, which is like the basic theory of prompt engineering. So yeah, okay. So for the first one, right? I'm sure that like many of you have already got this access to this note, so you can check on the Telegram group and click on this link. So we'll go through a bit. We will not cover like more details about the theory, but I think hopefully like by understanding like how prompt engineering works, it kind of like gives you some idea on what we can do and what we can't do with prompt engineering. Okay, so yeah. So let's start with by definition, I think like what prompt engineering is about, right? Actually, it's about creating a precise and informative questions or instructions that allow users to acquire desired output from AI models. So no matter what we do, definitely when we try to build custom prompts, you're actually building it for an AI model, not to human. So the way we write instructions on the prompt would be different than the way we actually provide instructions to human, because at the end of the day, that prompt is actually going to be converted into basically a number value, where it's actually being used by the AI models, the transformer models of ChatGPT, to generate a response. Yeah. So therefore, it's actually it's important to know that the way we write prompts ought to be different than the way we actually provide instructions to human. Yeah. Okay, so what we can do, right? What can we do? I think we covered like four most common like applications of prompt engineering. And the first one is assistant, where basically like prompts can be used to actually like to help human complete small menial tasks, right? Summarize, generate content, synthesize. So these three categories where like we processed where ChatGPT process a text output from text input, that's where actually it's best at. So that's assistant, I think, is the most common one, and the one that probably is the least difficult. Yeah. Coaching, like provide like some kind of like guidance based on personal needs and situation. So coaching actually has been also like pretty good use cases as well. So in fact, like I think it's we have some templates where it's actually more towards like applying ChatGPT for personalized coaching. Role play also is kind of like similar to coaching, but it's more like creating an environment or a role play scenario to make some kind of processes like such as learning or even like data collections actually more fun and personalized. And the fourth one, where I think like we are able to justify the cost of like running ChatGPT, is actually agent. So where we create some kind of like a virtual assistant, right, that can completely take over a specific task, such as like being like a customer service bot or even marketing bot, sales bot. So the equation is actually like, it's easier to justify. It's the hardest to build, but it's the easiest to justify when you try to implement ChatGPT to companies, because you're always trying to equate like the performance of a human given a task, and you compare with ChatGPT, right? Like, is it cheaper? Is it better? So with agent, I think like the dollar value that is generated, or the cost saving and the revenue that can be generated from building good agents are actually pretty high. So that's actually some of our projects are also like more towards like building an agent. Yeah. Okay, I think like that's how it applies. In terms of strengths and weaknesses, right? Okay. Number one, I think like ChatGPT, there are some a lot of limitations as well. But let's start with the strength. So the good part is that like with ChatGPT, right, or with large language models, it's actually very powerful, right, or very easy to. I mean, it's actually quite powerful if you want to apply it to generate like human-like text. So if you want to, let's say, generate like summarize basically a point of discussion, if you want them to answer questions, if you want a system that can detect some kind of like human intent, right? That actually ChatGPT is pretty good in terms of detecting linguistic instructions and generating linguistic output. So they are pretty good in doing that. The second one is the large knowledge base. So that one is actually very crucial, because they are already before like before like someone like OpenAI give us an access to ChatGPT, right? You're actually trained with trillions of like basically information from the internet. So what we have to do is that instead of us like basically like trying to create a new trying to fill in new content inside the chatbot, right, or the ChatGPT, they already have the knowledge or the information. We just have to shepherd and direct them so that they are actually being useful or focused for a niche information. So you're not adding stuff. You're actually trying to prioritize. You're trying to narrow down the focus, which is easier than adding stuff in this case. Rapid prototyping, I think some of you have tried, right? And actually, once you are familiar, it's pretty easy to actually create some kind of smart AI powered applications using ChatGPT. So like I think I can guarantee, right, once you are familiar with setting up the ChatGPT, right, it's quite easy for you to create like 3 or 4 more applications. Yeah. So yeah, but there are some weaknesses that I hope that we pay attention, right, when you try to think of the use cases of ChatGPT. The first one is the lack of common sense or lack of logical logical flow. So I think like there are a lot of videos that cover this in YouTube, but in summary, right, ChatGPT is actually very good to process text information, but they are not good for logical tasks like counting, taking average, or even like trying to actually process the data, like trying to extract numerical insights from numerical data. So that one is actually not that great, especially if you are using 3.5. They are actually like, you can actually like make it better, but generally they are not really good in counting or processing like logical like solving logic-based problems. So yeah, the second one is sensitivity to input wording, right? So they are very sensitive on how a question is phrased. So if you rephrase if you want sometimes, right, if you try to change the order of your instructions, right, it can actually like change the quality of the prompt as well. Therefore, like at the end of the day, right, what I foresee is that like most of the once you are familiar with building ChatGPT bot on Smojo, right, then the next most difficult task is not trying to create the ChatGPT bot itself, but it's actually coming up with a very accurate prompt to solve specific tasks. So prompt engineering is not easy. Like it's easy to start, but it's difficult to master. So that's why I think we need a systematic way to experiment on that. But I will not cover the systematic experimentation like this session. But if you are interested, I think we can have another class later on. Lack of user memory, but this one I think we kind of solve that using a module template. So you need to, I mean, if you just output ChatGPT as it is without remembering the past conversation, right, the quality of the output can be affected. Yeah. So, and the fourth one is expensive. Is actually quite expensive to run, especially if you are creating a customer-facing application. So it can be it. I mean, it is 100%, 100 times costlier than code to operate, but especially if you're using GPT-4. So that's actually one of the main reason why there is some kind of like hurdle when it comes to adoption. Yes, I can create a very nice prompt. I can do a lot of fantastic stuff, but is the cost justifiable to my to the impact, right, or to the output? Therefore, it comes back, right? Again, the most interesting use cases actually are building an autonomous agent, because I mean, the substitute of that spending on ChatGPT is actually like human salary. So that sounds a bit scary, but that appeals to a lot of companies when we try to talk to them. Yeah, can I completely like do this kind of task, right? How much do you spend like per month for this? For let's say for doing marketing or for processing CS. Oh, I need to spend like say like $800 per month. Oh, with ChatGPT is lower than $200, and it's actually it can answer instantly, right? So it's easier to justify from business standpoint. Okay. I think like I'll also go through a bit on the element of prompts, right? So what is a prompt and how is prompt processed, right? So basically, like when we try to input a keyword to your chatbot, right? Before it generates an output, actually there's I mean it's actually going through a process inside the prompt, which consists of two. The first one is the instruction, which is the system prompt or the prompt that you write. But the second one is also example. So example means that if our prompt, right, is not great enough, when you test it like let's say 8 times, 10 times, right, maybe it can only answer like correctly like 7 out of 10. You can actually like inject them like some example, so that whenever there is some kind of like similar like question coming up, they have some kind of template answer that they can use, so that the quality of the answer is more consistent. So yeah, this is like how we basically like the basic concept of like prompt engineering. You can write an instruction in terms of prompt, but if you want to improve it further, like you not most of the times you might need to inject some kind of examples to make it reliable. Yeah, so I think like this is also like pretty straightforward, right? Like you can have a instruction that can let's say to translate English to bahasa, right? In the input is how are you, the output is apa kabar. So like the input goes to the prompt. ChatGPT execute the instructions, and then like it generates an output. Okay, so this is this is quite important. So when it comes to writing prompt, right, there are some kind of like tips that we that I mean that a lot of community actually has shared, but this is also based on like I mean based on experiments, because to be honest, like we don't really know how like transformers work. Like theoretically is very I don't think like anyone knows like theoretically like how exactly like transformers work, because they have a very huge infrastructure of models. It's probably one of the largest models that humanity has created. So even the creator itself might not understand exactly how the transformer works. So but these tips, right, is actually based on experiments. So someone tried a lot, and then like they come up with this kind of like rules when it comes to writing the prompt. The first one is to use direct instructions or basically direct instructions or clear instructions. Use concise and unambiguous language. So when you try to write the prompt, right, let's say the bad example is convert this text into a catchy post. That one I think like it's okay if you if you just want to start. But if you want to complete a specific purpose, right, we need to actually expand the prompt instructions into something that is more specific. For example, like convert the text below into SEO-friendly viral captions targeting university students who are looking for data science bootcamps. So because of that, I think it will significantly improve the quality of the response, because ChatGPT understand the context on why you, I mean, what their instruction is for. So they can actually customize it, and then they also can extract relevant background data to kind of like, you know, to come up with relevant answers. The second one is to provide any relevant information or data as a context. So yeah, so this is also like where ChatGPT prompts can be improved. So the bad example is like if you don't put any context at all. But let's say if you want to use like create a marketing post for digital marketing, right? So if you put basically like a context where ChatGPT should act as an expert digital marketer with 15 years of experience launching marketing campaign in Singapore, in Indonesia, in your desired, like, you know, target audience, for your desired target audience, that they will, I mean, the quality will be better basically. The third one is give examples in prompts. So I will not go through here, right? I mean, I'll put some examples later on, but basically, how it typically works is that when you try to build a prompt and you realize that like they are not so reliable in answering certain kind of questions, so we can actually, like, you know, identify that kind of source of unreliability, right? And then try to kind of fix it by forcing them to by using like a template answer. So this is like how we typically, like, you know, make the ChatGPT better. Identify the source of the area of weaknesses, put an example for that specific area, so that, like, you know, the quality of the answer improves. Specify the desired output format. Yeah, that one is also important to give you some kind of, like, you know, some kind of like an idea, like basically, like, you know, outputs, let's say for your specific, especially if you are trying to automate, if you trying to put ChatGPT into some kind of automation. So let's say, like, for example, right, if you want, I mean, if you ask like ChatGPT to come up with an Instagram a catchy Instagram caption, right, then you can actually, like, you know, requested ChatGPT to provide in certain kind of output format, so that you can actually, like, you know, you get more basically customized response. I mean, response structure. So this one is actually very useful, especially if you want to use ChatGPT to summarize or generate a report. So yeah. And encourage the model to be factual through other means. So yeah, sometimes, like, if you want to use ChatGPT for more quite critical or sensitive tasks, right, it's very important for you to for us to be confident on the reliability of the answer, right? So there are some basically some instruction that you can write in your prompt. So the first one is that answer only using reliable sources and cite those resources. The second one is also like, if you don't know the answer, do not make it up, or say I don't know, because most of the times, right, without this default setup, ChatGPT tends to hallucinate, and hallucination is basically, like, you know, quite dangerous basically, right? But because we don't give them some instruction, right, to basically say I don't know when they don't know, right, their default response is actually to hallucinate. So we need to really, like, you know, ask them to take a step back, and then, like, you know, if I mean, if they are not sure with the answer, right, ask them to say I'm not sure, or I don't know. Or sometimes also you can also, like, you know, ask them to, let's say for mathematical question, right, you can also ask them to count back or to redo the calculation before giving them an output. So that kind of like, at least that improves that lowers the number of mistakes that ChatGPT can produce. Okay, use persona. I think that one also will affect the quality of the output, especially when you want to modify the tone. So yeah. And okay, the other one is that there are also like some kind of like interesting basically observation that people actually have found out. So one of the funny funny ways to make your ChatGPT better, right, is actually like is by using these two phrases. The first one is let's think step by step. So somehow when you put let's think step by step, your ChatGPT prompts actually produce much better answer compared to if you don't put it. The second one is that there is actually a paper that actually like a proof that if you mention take a deep breath in your ChatGPT prompt, somehow your ChatGPT becomes more accurate. So like it's a very interesting field and because like no one really knows like theoretically like how the models operate. So we will actually foresee a lot of like interesting tips from the practitioners on how you make your prompt better. But make sure that you follow practitioners, not like someone who are just doing the theory, right, without testing, because we need to really test, right, to understand like whether like the technique works or not. So you can okay. So how we can make the ChatGPT like the prompts right more suitable to your specific use cases, right? So they are actually like you can actually like control the of the output. So let's say right like say that like for example like you can just say like say no more than okay yeah I think my internet is a bit unstable. Okay, I hope is it at I hope now it's clear. So the first one is length control. You can actually ask GPT to basically like define the length of his response. One sentence, no longer than a few words and all that. So that one is actually very useful. Tone control. Do you want to be more polite or do you want to be more instructional or more strict? So that one also like is actually a very useful feature that we can input on your prompt as well. Style control. So style control is very useful especially if you want to like prompt. So where your output of your prompt is actually input into another prompt. It's very important to control the format of the output as well. Audience control, you can really like define like ask GPT to basically like provide suitable answer based on your target audience, and scenario based control as well. So that one gives ChatGPT some context on how the answer should be better handled. So let's say if you are customer support, of course, a different way like providing customer service to maybe
Sorry, Christian. Hello.
teenagers, right?
Hi,
Where
Christian.
the style and the language are different. So if you, you can actually like to right. Hi,
Uh,
yes,
Sorry, Christian.
yeah.
I think your internet is
Hi,
quite
Jeremy.
unstable. So it's actually quite
Yes.
hard to hear. It's quite choppy
Do
now.
you is my okay? Let me adjust that.
Thanks.
Okay. Is it better? Can you hear me?
Can you try saying it again?
Yeah. Is it better now?
Oh yes, it's smoother now. I will try
Okay.
again if it's laggy again now.
Yeah. Was it laggy like for the past 5 minutes or like, since the
I wouldn't
start of
say
the...
maybe like the past 2 minutes or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me, I think like just repeat again briefly on the basic techniques, right? So what you can do is to actually control the length of your sentence, of your output, length of the text output. You can control the tone. You can control the style as well, or the format of the output as well. That one is very important if you are trying to build a multi-prompt chatbot audience. So you can just define your target audience, and then like ChatGPT will try to customize the response to suit the target audience. And you can also put the scenario as well if you want to really refine the output of the quality of the response, basically. And there are also advanced technique, so like such as like chain of thought prompting, where inside your prompt, right, you can also put some examples. So for example, like, okay, so for example, right, like I'm trying to create a chatbot to train people how to do sales, for example, right? And then when I try to test my prompt, somehow like the ChatGPT is always mistaken themselves, not doing the role play as basically like as a customer who is testing the user as a salesman. They try to do it oppositely. They're acting as a salesman, which is opposite on what we are asking them to do. So the trick is that like what I did at the end of the day was actually to put some examples, so that like when I ask them to start a conversation, this is the way the ChatGPT behaves as a basically customer. Say, hi, I'm looking for XYZ. Can you recommend me some products, and why is it, and explain why is it better. And you put 3 examples, and somehow, right, that kind of that rectify the errors that I had when I tried to basically like fix my mistakes fix my prompt mistake. So rather than like trying to fine tune like the prompts, which actually is quite difficult, if let's say we try to modify some prompts and then like it's not working, you can actually put some kind of like examples, right, in areas where ChatGPT is not performing well. So you can just also like, so you have a prompt, and then you can put your questions or the user's input, and then your output, ChatGPT responses. Like just put it into pairs, put 2 or 3 examples, and then somehow it kind of fix themselves. The second one is zero shot. So zero shot is actually just using some kind of phrase to make sure your GPT is thinking before producing an output. So yeah, like I said, right, there are there are few phrases where practitioners use to improve their prompts. The first one is let's think step by step. I think that one is quite proven. So an earlier users actually find out about this. But the recent one is take a deep breath, which is strange, but somehow it works. So yeah. The other one is hallucination avoidance. So these are some phrases that you can use in your ChatGPT to make sure that they hallucinate less, or they don't put wrong answer. The first one is don't make anything up. The second one is select 1 or 2 relevant quotations from text to back up your claims. The third one is check your calculation and make sure they are correct. So I tried it myself. It works quite well. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's the basic of prompt engineering. Next, I will actually like try to demo showcase some demo on how you can put ChatGPT into your chatbot. But before that, like any questions about prompt engineering? Yeah, for the free. Oh, okay, Jeremy. Yes.
Oh, I was just going to read from the chat lah, actually. So Haley has a question about free ChatGPT version, whether it's possible to load in documents like PowerPoint slides.
Okay. Yes. Technically yes, you can, but it's just that for this week we didn't teach it yet because it requires a little bit of programming. And also, I think we found out that like ChatGPT is not so great in processing like a huge chunk of text. So I mean, technically yes, but it requires a little bit more setup. So we will not cover it today. Yeah, but we'll cover it next week, like on how you can actually put documents inside the ChatGPT. Yeah. Do you have access to this document? Yes, yes, it's on Telegram group. So if you click the lecture notes, it's actually there. You can just click it and then you can see this. Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Don't OpenAI have a user guide for programmers? Yes, yes, they have a user guide for programmers. So if you want to create your own, you can, but do not underestimate the complexity of setting up the ChatGPT. I mean the GPT itself, because it requires like a lot of plumbing or like integration work from one to another. So that's why I think like I mean, technically you can put, if you know programming language, or if you have programmed before, I think you can also like follow the instructions. Yeah, so there are some guides. I think there are a lot of guides for, if you are a developer, there are a lot of guides like outside on how you can integrate, how you can use the API. Yeah. So yeah, any questions from YouTube, Jeremy?
Currently not yet. Yeah. So I
Okay,
think you've
so
covered the basis.
okay, so that's the basically that's about it. Like if you have any other question, like feel free to post on the chat box or on the YouTube chat. Then we'll go through next. We'll go through it one by one during the next Q&A session. Okay. Yes. Take a deep breath and let's think step by step. You can put that instruction inside the prompt. So if you write the prompt, right? I mean, you can put this text like basically inside the prompt itself. Yeah.
For the benefit of those on YouTube, the question was, can we put these prompts like take a deep breath, let's think step by step, and don't make anything up into ChatGPT as customized instructions, and still use Mojo to API into it?
Yes. So the answer is yes, because technically, like Mojo will actually pass your prompt as an API to OpenAI or to basically to Azure OpenAI, or next actually, like we are also trying to connect with other open source LLM as well, like Mistral, Llamas, and all that stuff, right? So yeah, basically your prompt is going to be passed in as an API to these sources. Yeah. Okay, so maybe like I'll move on first, just to basically like show you how to demo it on how to build your ChatGPT on Mojo. For this batch, right? I think we can actually skip steps. I mean, if you want to build your own, like if you have your own OpenAI account and you want to use other models as well, you can follow these steps, and you can download the other template from community, which is self-branding chatbot with OpenAI and Azure AI. So if you have your own resources, you can use this template, just in case that you want to use GPT-4 or GPT-4 preview or other models. You can actually include that. But right now we have a connection. We just built a connection to OpenAI and Azure OpenAI. So we have not introduced like other connections to other models as well. But at least like these two are one of the most one of the best models. So you can actually like use these two should be enough for now. Yeah, but if you are using our secret API, access, right? You can actually skip all these steps and then start from here. So I think for the benefit of majority, right, who are using the secret key that we provide, right? I think I'll go straight to like implement to the prompt setup. So we don't go through like the linking to GPT, because I think it's already clearly laid out here in this instruction. Okay. Oh, actually, I meant under custom instruction setting in ChatGPT for ChatGPT user. Okay, I'll answer that in later on, Vincent. Let me showcase the demo, then I'll show to you later on. Okay, so this is like our module template, right? And basically, like almost all of you are already using basically the right template, which is self-branding chatbot with OpenAI. Yeah, so there are more people downloading, but once you download it, I think you should be able to see this file, right? Self-branding chatbot with OpenAI. So let's try to basically modify the entire content for different purpose. But let me show you like first on how to basically like use this chatbot. So once you download it, I think you already understand. I mean, you already realize that there is actually a GPT part of this chatbot. And if you look at main.m, right, there's actually like 5 actually different files in the topic that leads to your GPT. So the first thing that you have to do is to basically like make sure that your chatbot works. So as usual, once you download it, or you can just click main.m and publish. So if this works, I mean, if your chatbot works, that means there's no issue. The second one is like is to follow like the instructions, right? Like, so what you do right now is that if you first download, you have like Azure/OpenAI/chat completion. If you want to use this like this chatbot, or if you want to connect to our credits, right, you can just put slash and then secret. This is the first thing that you have to do on main.m. On this line, Farrell Adele Azure OpenAI chat completion, put backslash secret, and then you save. So this is the first step that you have to do. Otherwise, if you don't have this one, right, if let's say we publish it as this, right, and then we go to main.m and publish. Yeah, your GPT, right? Oh, okay, I think I modify. Let me just restart the re-download and then change the content. Yeah, so let's say I just re-download, right? Because I think I might change something before that. I re-download and then I open the new content, right? This one, which is like the content that I have for self-branding chatbot. So when I first download, right? Okay, is this the okay? Let me see. Okay, I think let me just re-download the file. Re-download, and then I try to restart, and then go back here. Yeah, so this is the original setup of the ChatGPT template. So the first thing that you have to do is first to enable to add /secret on your chatbot. So this automatically like connects your chatbot to our Azure OpenAI access. So this is the first thing that you can do, and then you click save, and then don't forget to test just in case like anything goes wrong, right? So like when you try to add or modify your chatbot, like let's try to do it step by step and then try to test it to see like whether it goes right or wrong. Because if you do a lot of editing at once, then when you click publish or you click test and something goes wrong, you don't know the source of error. So if for me, right, I always try to actually modify step by step before you try to save and then click publish, so that you basically we kind of understand where it went wrong. So the first step is to actually change the secret, add secret. The second step is to go to your GPT and you go to your props.m. So since you are not using you are using our credit right now, you can actually disable this one. Because right now, right, if you enable this one, you are actually trying to read the secret key from your secret.m file. While when you first download, you don't have access to the secret key because you have not set up your OpenAI or Azure OpenAI account. So if you want to use our access, right, you can just disable this one. Props.m include ./topic/GPT secret.m. We click save. We go back to main.m. Always, I mean, you can only publish at main.m file, or if you are at props.m, you can't really click publish, or you can't click test because can't find main.m, right? So you always have to go back to main.m and then click test. Okay, it works so far. So my step 1 is okay, my step 2 is okay. Now I click publish. Okay, I think I need to change to another name because I have my own version of GPT. Okay, I save and I published. Okay. So right now, right, like previously when you try to access like the GPT, right, it's not able to provide some answer. But right now, if I type it, share my input, now it works. There's no like Java lang error and all other errors because I already managed to connect my chatbot into my AI4IMPACT's secret key by doing the 2 actions /secret on main.m and also like by basically commenting out the include secret.m on props.m. Yeah. So these are the 2 steps that you need to check first before you start editing your prompt. Maybe for these 2 actions first, is there any question or anything that is not clear?
I think we do have some questions in the chat box.
Yes. You have an error. I think the unknown word resource name, unknown word deployment ID, unknown word max conversion. I think probably you need to check whether you do it correctly. The one that you need to disable is the props.m include ./topic/GPT/secret.m. This is the only one. The rest don't include it, and you have to click save as well. Yeah. And then the second one, you need to make sure that you add this one to /secret. Yeah. To disable, you just press command out. So like this enabled, right? This is like disabled. Enable, disable. Basically, you just comment out. You convert your code into a command. Command is not an executable code. Yeah. Does this mean we can remember the GPT? Yeah, maybe you can explain what do you mean by rename? Yeah, you can rename. You can rename your GPT. I'll show you later on. Okay, so this is the step for switching on the GPT. Yeah, okay, Lichin, you did your commenting out correctly, but maybe you have not included secret on main.m here. So right now is Azure OpenAI chat completion, right? You need to add secret as well here. this part. Otherwise, it's not going to be activated. They will not recognize your OpenAI test. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Please, like, follow the instructions, like, carefully. Like, you can also pause and then rewind on YouTube. If you download and then if you change this one to secret, and then there should not be any error. Yeah. Unless we did something else. The props is on GPT and then props.m here. Again, on your main.m topics, GPT props.m. Yeah, so this is where you can switch on your GPT mode. Yeah. So any other question? Main.m is here. Main.m is here. You can just click main.m once you, all chatbots should have main.m here. Okay, I think for the benefits of like everyone, like let's move on to the second step, which is customizing selecting your GPT ChatGPT module basically. So in this template, we actually have two kinds of GPT with two different systems. So the first one is friend GPT, where they are using a system prompt. So system prompt is that basically is that I will actually send you the instructions at the very start, and then whenever I try to make a conversation, like the system will, your chatbot will always remember the setup, the instructions on the very start. So this is what we call system prompt. System prompt is that at the very start you have basically like a prompt where you load into your ChatGPT API, and then whenever you make a conversation inside that ChatGPT, it always try to remember the system prompt. The good thing is that you don't have to set up too many prompts, but the disadvantage is that you cannot customize the prompt itself using the user input. So this is this is called friend GPT, and for each setup is always consists of two kinds of basically two kinds of topic files, messages and conversations. So these are the first one. The Rep GPT is another setup, which actually doesn't use system prompt, but it uses user prompt. So you don't have to understand like too much in their details, but user prompt is basically is that in this setup, you can customize the input of the prompt based on what your users answer beforehand. For example, I have a prompt that can do translation. So without system prompt in this case, like I try to simplify a lot of things, but in a way that like for this transition for Rep GPT, you can actually ask your users on which language you want to translate to, and then when they type English, then it will automatically like your ChatGPT will include that into their prompt and command the prompt to translate it into English. If they put input, let's say bahasa, into bahasa. If they input into, let's say, Burmese, or let's say Kazakh or Russian, right? You can also pass that user input into your prompt, and then you generate the prompt itself. So these are the difference. Okay, so these are the first step. And one thing that you have to remember is that you cannot activate two different systems at once. So if you want to use friend GPT, you need to enable this one by commenting in, or you can also use like erase the backslash, and then like you need to disable the Rep GPT like this if you want to use friend GPT. If you want to use Rap GPT, then it's different. You have to disable Friend GPT, and you have to enable Rap GPT here. So this is the one thing that another point that you need to remember. You cannot execute multiple prompt setup at once. Okay, because I think because of Friend GPT and Rap GPT use different system. But if you, let's say, you want to have another prompt called maybe, I don't know, like a sales GPT, right? Using like the same system, right? You can actually do this as well. Then you can have like, you know, sales GPT and sales GPT here. You can do that because if you're copy pasting Rap GPT message and then customizing it for another one, so you can do that later on because like Rap GPT and sales GPT is going to use like the same system as well. So yeah, that's one thing to note. Okay, so now let's move on to the setup itself, right? Like how can we set up, let's say, Friend GPT, right? So let's start with the simple one, Friend GPT, not Rap GPT. So I will disable this. I will enable Friend GPT. Okay. So let's go inside the crux of Friend GPT right now. So Friend GPT actually has two types of file. So the first one is Friend GPT messages, which actually store your prompt. Your prompt. So if your prompt is triggered, I mean your user input will be passed into like this prompt, and then like the prompt will actually generate an output. So messages is where you set up your prompt. So this is the important part, Friend GPT system prompt, and then you can actually write your basically your prompt instructions here. The second part is conversations. So conversation is different than prompt. Conversation is that is the way for a conversation flow for you to access the ChatGPT prompt. I mean your ChatGPT, your Friend GPT prompt basically. So in this case, like I hope you are familiar with like how you can use Q and MM, but basically what it means is that if Friend GPT is triggered, it will answer like first it will actually like respond like this: feeling lonely, I hope my free pop can make you go around, your world go around, tell me about your feeling today. And then it goes to basically like another response called start conversation. And then like so here is how it goes, like if we want to use like Friend GPT, right? So right now I need to check, oh okay, now my Friend GPT is already enabled, so I try to test, and then I try to publish. Okay. So my Friend GPT is enabled right now, right? So let's try to access that. So I look at the flow. So where is this Friend GPT, right? So I need to trace the flow as well, right? So this one start with introduction, right? Introductions. Where is my Friend GPT? Okay. Right now, the Friend GPT is here, but okay, there's actually a Friend GPT here on Rich Brian GPT, right? So basically it should be here. So my Friend GPT is actually somewhere along Rich Brian GPT. But I click okay, but now like okay, where's the button, right? Now the button is missing. So where is it, right? So I try to check to this response, right? So what do? I go to introduction and then I click Rich Brian GPT, right? But when I check Rich Brian GPT, the button of Friend GPT doesn't show up. So what should I do? Now I need to check the part where it generates this response. So I go to introduction.m and I look at this. Oh, I hope I can make your day better, right? Sometimes I also like to use like a control F or control find to basically like identify like where does this content lie, right? Which bubble or which conversation, right? Okay, I hope I can make your day better. So I type, I hope I can. Okay, now I can find it that this is the part where it generates basically like the response. So right now my Rap GPT is active, but my Friend GPT is commented out, which is disabled, right? So I need to tune into FriendGPT. So what I have to do is that I have to enable this one, and maybe so to make it less confusing, I disable ChatGPT. I click, I go to main.m, and I published. Okay, now let's see whether like my FriendGPT appears. Now it appears because why? Because I already changed on introduction.m. I already changed RapGPT to FriendGPT. Or for it right now, let's say for example, right? Maybe I want to have a shortcut to FriendGPT button right at the introduction, for example. So what should I do, right? So apparently, like right now, if you look at the introduction, right, I have a lot of buttons, and this button can be distracting, right? So I want to have a FriendGPT button right at the start. So what should I do? I can actually customize my introduction. So right now I have lots of buttons like button 1, business inquiries, button 2, social media, portfolio, and Rich Brian, right? I want to have just one button called FriendGPT. What should I do? The first one is that, oh, I happen to have a content called FriendGPT, and it's actually like name button 5. So I want to put this one into like my main.m, my introduction.m. I need to put button 5 here. And then I go back, published. Now I have another button, FriendGPT. I want to remove other buttons, right? Because it's distracting. So what should I do? So what should I do is that on introduction.m, right now I have 5 buttons and an album and all that. I want to remove that. I want to remove the audio as well. So what should I do? So I have to delete this one. But just in case, like, if I deleted, something goes wrong, right? I need to be able to switch back. So instead of just deleting, I copy paste this one to, let's say, another like container here. But then I have to comment this out. I have to comment this out because I don't want this to be executed. I want to remove an audio as well. I copy paste here, and then I comment out audio. Sorry. I save, go back to main.m, test first, just make sure that like, okay, if there's any error, right, before I publish, now I publish. Okay, I go back. Now everything vanished except sentence freestyle. I want to remove that as well. I don't, maybe I just want to use one button. Introduction.m. Yeah, there's an album here. I don't want this as well. I just delete this one. I store it here. I save. That's better right now. Okay, now, so when I click FriendGPT, right, it goes to the first conversation here. FriendGPT, feeling lonely. I hope my hip hop can make your world go round. Tell me about your feeling today. So let's say I'm feeling sad. Okay, so that after I click set, it generates a response basically based on the prompt. So what it does is that in this case, how it works is that, okay, I triggered FriendGPT, and then when I triggered FriendGPT, basically with K is a room, basically a concept called room. So I think like for some of you who have read through the concept of room, I think that's great. You can look at the previous masterclass, but maybe I'll just like repeat again to give some ideas on how it works. Okay, for GPT, right, it's actually different from keyword matching. In keyword matching, right, like let's say for introduction, right, what you do is that you actually have a button, and then like if a user click that button, you need to prepare the response to in order to answer that, right? If there is no response, it will actually go to IDK. So that means that if users type a certain topic, a certain keyword, if the keyword match to your queue, then it will actually direct them to the answer that you already prepared. But for ChatGPT is different, right? It's tricky because why? Because what I want to do is that when I don't want to have any kind of matching, any kind of keyword matching, I want the users to be able to type everything, and yet GPT is able to provide an answer. So in this case, I need to have an isolated room so that wherever they type everything, right, all kind of random keyword, right, it should be able to answer that, right? That means that I need to isolate it so that if I type any kind of random keyword, it doesn't go to an IDK. Like for example, if I exit GPT right now, if I type right now like this, right, I don't understand what you mean because you are actually outside the ChatGPT room. But inside ChatGPT, like if I type like random, whichever I type, it should be able to generate a response, not to generate an I don't know scenario. So this is a very important concept. I mean, when it comes to trying to assemble ChatGPT or integrate ChatGPT into your chatbot, you need to create a room where your chatbot, right, is able to take any kind of concept, any kind of input, and yet able to provide a response. So in this case, what I did is to actually create a room called Start Conversation. So how it works is that when I go to GPT, and then whenever I respond to anything, right, whenever I type a response, instead of going out to IDK, it goes out to the response is passed to the room called Start Conversation. And this Start Conversation here, this room, this is the room where I can actually take in any input. So this the dollar sign and underscore is basically is all catch all. We call it catch all. You can take any input and then you are able to pass that input to ChatGPT to be processed. So this is how it works. So yeah, maybe I'll pause here for the time being, just to basically ask the question. Okay. Okay, I think we tried French chat before, French GPT before after using the input. The chat GPT as Mojo cannot run. Yeah, you need to you can later on. Can you show me on technical Q&A on what the basically on your code itself, especially on the French GPT conversation and and your introduction.m, so that we understand where it goes wrong. Waiting, I think you can ask. I mean, you can post your screenshot your code so that we can work together on how we can solve that. I understand that FriendGPT is a system prompt and chat is automatically stored in ChatGPT API. But when we say continue after the first response, it's unable to send any message, let alone continue from the previous response. May I know if FriendGPT or RapGPT allow us to continue the response? That's a very good question. So the reason why you can't continue is because of our setup. So maybe I jump around here and there, but I'll show you the reason because why it happens, right? Why is FriendGPT not able to continue the conversation, right? The reason is because the default setup in this module or chat or in this template, right, is actually only able to take to maximum conversation. That means that when we passed it to ChatGPT API, we don't pass the entire conversation. It doesn't remember the entire conversation. It only remembers the last two conversations that the users and the chatbot has. So can we change that? Yes, we can change that by disabling the number of max conversation. If you disable this one, if you click save, you should be able to basically continue the conversations. So I'll demo it a bit on how it makes a difference. I'll test first. Okay, I'll publish. So if I because I remove the restriction of number of max conversation, right? So if I'm feeling sad right now, it generates a rep, right? But let's say I want to keep continue, right? Okay, thanks for, let's say, thanks so much for this. Really appreciate it. Can you modify the rep? Yeah, it should be able to modify the rep as well. Let me just check first. Yeah, make it shorter into 2 sentences. Yeah. What do you think about the rep? So if you want to make a role play or conversation style, right, where you want to remember like past conversations, you can disable this part, max conversation. But be careful, because like, because if you when you disable the max number of max conversations, your API will try to store everything, like all conversations, pass it into ChatGPT, basically OpenAI API, right? So the longer you talk, the slower your ChatGPT responding, and the more expensive it is, because you are trying to pass the entire conversation to ChatGPT. Yeah. Okay. How many times the user, please demo how many times the users can key in their input using Friend GPT. Yeah, so this is also like similar question as the past, right? How many conversations can you do with GPT? The answer is unlimited. Just now I'm actually like already have like 4 conversations with ChatGPT, but you can decide like how many past conversations can the ChatGPT remember. Of course, if you don't put a setup, if you don't limit it like this, you can remember like past conversations from the same session basically. But if you close it, you open it, you can't they forget. But then I mean the the best side is that the more conversation you have, the slower the GPT is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Teresa ask like, why can't we comment out them at where they are? Which one? Yeah, you can comment basically as it is, except inside the part inside queue, the introduction, because how it works is that inside this queue, right, this is actually an HTML code, and HTML code does not recognize backslash as a comment, so you can't do that. Is it case sensitive? Is our chatbot case sensitive? No, the matching is not case sensitive. So yeah, it's okay. Can we get the users to continue conversations after receiving the first response? Yes. Just now, I think I already demoed. Okay, what's the difference between clear and back? Okay, in this case, like okay, I'll answer that later on when I go back to the conversations. The output from ChatGPT is cut out. Although the prompt we set is given to 1200 words, the output is cut off. Okay, the reason is because there is actually a default maximum token that the GPT can process. So right now, like the maximum number, if you have an answer and then suddenly it's cut off, right? It's because like the default setup from Azure OpenAI actually limits the number of answers to be 256 tokens. So that means that if you have past conversation, right, your past conversation is included into the token itself. So therefore, like if you want to the GPT, right, to be able to answer longer, what you can do is to insert like, max token here. The number of max tokens to this chatbot. So I mean on this setup, prof.m, you can type, let's say 500 max token. Yeah. You click save, then you click publish. Then right now your max token, is it correct? Let me just check. Just give me for a moment. Let me check Telegram group. I think because I think I answered this question before. I think it's max token. I think. Max tokens. Sorry, my bad. With S, not max token. I go back to my file. Max tokens. Props.m max tokens. Save. Published. Yes. So the keyword is max tokens. If you want to change the GPT length. The last time is max conversation. Max conversation is the number of conversation that the ChatGPT remember. So that's basically like the response. I mean that's different than max token. Token is like the maximum number of tokens or the length that your ChatGPT can respond. If it's still okay, the max token is you can put anything. I think GPT 3.5 can answer up to maybe like 10,000 tokens or 5,000 tokens. I don't remember, but you can check like OpenAI to check like for GPT 3.5 Turbo, like what's the maximum number of token. But it can be up to 10,000 token, which is or 1,000. I think 10,000, which equates to 7,500 words. Yeah. So yeah. Is it correct to say that token is the number of characters it can display on the response? You can read this out on OpenAI, basically like documentation, but tokens can, I think it can mean like a syllable. Typically, it's actually a one syllable, one token, but there are some ways where token is basically I is also considered as a token. Number is considered as one token, so they have different definition of token lah. But in essence, right, 1,000 tokens equals to 750 words. Yeah, that's the rough estimation. Okay, so I hope that answers like the setup inquiry. Maybe I'll go back to FriendGPT first so that we can basically cover the entire end-to-end process of building ChatGPT.
Maybe before we go back there, can I also raise some questions from YouTube?
Oh yes, please, Jeremy.
Okay. So actually there's a question, but maybe it's not so related to this current topic, but is it possible to get this to make images, to generate images?
Images, yes, but it requires multiple steps. So the first one is that you need to convert, because we are using 3.5 and 4, and the 4 vision, there's a GPT-4 vision which is not yet released by the OpenAI, but once it's released, you can actually process an image. But right now we need to stitch multiple API together. The first one is that you can convert an image to text using an OCR or optical OCR or other image modules from Azure. So there's a template to do that. But when we try it ourselves, like it's not as good as GPT-4 Vision. So that's why we have not taught it right now. We are still testing it just to make sure that like, is it applicable to different wide range of use cases? And then, but essentially you can. So first, the image is converted into text using like other models, and then from there on towards from text to prompt. So there's no direct process, but you can do that by stitching multiple APIs together, which we are hoping to cover on the next week when Arnold teach about external APIs. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks very much. One more question. So I think this is regarding one of the earlier steps about removing buttons. One of the participants is asking why must copy and paste and cannot just use the backslash to do that.
Okay, I think that one is answered in the I mean from the previous question, right? But you can use backslash. It's just that I mean the one that you can't use backslash is the code inside queue here, inside quotes. This one you have to delete because the code inside the queue, right, is actually an HTML code which doesn't recognize slash. But technically, right, for other places like this one, right, if I want to disable, like, you know, like this text, right, I can just comment it out like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks, Christian.
Okay. So maybe I'll move on here first. So so what I did is that, like, I basically, like, you know, create a room in which when I enter FriendGPT, whatever my user responses doesn't go to IDK, it goes to this part where this is the template to process your prompt. So how is it, like, you know, what does it mean, right? So I'll explain step by step on how it works. So in the so when you type here, right, when you go to FriendGPT, right, so when I click reset or when I click FriendGPT, it answers the same question, right? It produces the same basically similar response, right? So tell me, like, about your feeling today. I'm feeling very sad. Okay. So how it works is that, number one, when I type my response, it's directed to start conversation room. So it goes here, view here, right? And then what I did, how I match it to GPT is actually is using this word, is using this this line which is called mem. So memory is actually a way for us to store a value, pass the value to other places for being processed, and then coming up with an answer. So in this, what it means is that right now, last question means that I'm passing, like, the last response that the user input. I put it into a FriendGPT ask. So FriendGPT ask is located in FriendGPT messages. You don't have to understand how it works for this one, but basically is that you are putting the response into a sequence of conversation between ChatGPT and the users, so that your ChatGPT can remember past conversation. You don't have to understand how it works, but just to let you know that FriendGPT ask is a way for you to store your user response into conversation history. The second one is FriendGPT response here, right? So FriendGPT response here is basically, like, you know, you are passing the last question, going to FriendGPT ask. Right now, because I'm using system prompt, I don't pass it to any prompt. The prompt is already loaded. So I don't have to recall the prompt because it's already loaded at the setup. And then it generates a FriendGPT response. So right now I'm passing my last user input into conversation history inside ChatGPT, and then that conversation history is processed by ChatGPT to generate a response on my prompt. I mean, based on the prompt. So how does it work? Let's say I'm feeling sad right now, right? I'm feeling sad. I put my input to FriendGPT ask, and then that FriendGPT ask actually interact with this prompt. So that means that the prompt is that you are a famous American rapper with a golden heart. I will share what happens to me. In response, generate a short paragraph to make me feel better. Use emoji, and your response should not exceed 40 words. So in this case, what it does is that the FriendGPT ask is actually passed to the prompt, and then it generates the prompt generates a response, and I display my response here on the conversation. Again, I'll repeat again. First, I store my input. I recall the last input that the user has, store it into a conversation history, and because my prompt is loaded in the system, not in the conversation, I'm able to actually, like, the ChatGPT already remembers the instructions and then generate a response right away. And the response here, I'm displaying it on my MM. The same way you display a button, right? So if you display a button, you can have, as you said, FriendGPT convert it into a button, right? But in this case, I just have to respond it into a text, for example. Basically, it's the same as button, right? If I put it like, button as well, right? The entire thing into a button, you can also do that as well. So if I save it here, right? And if I publish it again, if I click reset, I try again. My entire response is put into a button. Yeah, so this is, but that's how it works. So basically, like, that's how basically, like, you are able to display the response in from ChatGPT. So far, any question? I mean, because we have to go slowly, step by step, just to make sure that, like, everyone understands the step. B is a special command to store, for storage, for mem, to take the value and then put it into basically a variable, basically. How do we go about changing the button from the YouTube one to a normal send button? You can do that here. Send button image URL and send button image style. You can just change it, the content here. This one, yeah. Okay. Okay, so just wanted to check. FriendGPT ask is a way for us to store past conversation. First, it recalls last question from the user has the last input, yes. Then it passes the last question into FriendGPT ask. FriendGPT ask is a way for us to store past conversation, yes. Conversion history is processed by ChatGPT to generate a response based on the prompt and past chat history. Correct, correct. That's how it goes. So let's say I want to repurpose my FriendGPT, right? I want to, instead of generating a rep, I want them to generate basically a medical maybe, like, medical diagnosis, right? So what should I do? Let's say. So I'll go through this like very slowly. So I want to change my FriendGPT maybe into a medical GPT, right? Where it can give me basically, like, an advice, for a healthcare advice, right? So what should I do? So the first one is that maybe I want to change the name from FriendGPT to medical GPT. So that's the first one, medical GPT, and then medical GPT as well. Oh, no, I don't need to change it because I don't use Rich Brian. So yeah, but I'll just use it here. Okay, first I need to change the button, and the second one I need to change the matching, medical GPT, right? This is the first thing that I have to do. Always step by step. I check first whether I published. Now I change it to medical GPT, but my response is still the same. So I need to change the input, right? So the second one is to change my my text here into a different context. So not feeling well. Tell me about your symptom. I need to check. Tell me how you feel. Apologize. You feel today. Tell me what happened, and I'll try to diagnose. Change my first instruction. say, and then start conversations, and then, so this is the first one. Then I need to change the prompt as well. But maybe I want to change this one to just to make sure the labeling is right. So I change all things that is called friend GPT to medical GPT. Medical GPT response. Is there anything else called medical friend GPT? Oh, okay. Medical GPT response. And then here I can also change to medical GPT ask. So this is my conversation. But then don't forget to change the messages part as well. So right now there's an ask here called medical GPT ask, right? So I need to change here as well. Medical GPT ask. You can keep it as it is, but I think for me I prefer change the label. So I need to change the name here as well. Medical GPT. Save, and then I have to change because now I try to trigger like medical GPT response. Maybe I need to change the system prompt as well. System prompt, medical system content. So I try to change all the variables, and let's test first because I changed a lot of things, right? So I need to make sure that whether I change it correctly or not. Okay, now I still have a friend GPT message history. Okay, I still have not deleted that part. So where is friend GPT message history? Here. Where is it? Friend GPT message history. Oh yeah, here. Medical GPT message history. And then something wrong with my response as well. Oh yeah, here. Medical GPT response. So I change all the variable first. I test again if it works or not. Okay, now there's no issue, right? Now I can start publishing. So now, if I type medical GPT again, now it changes right now. Not feeling well, tell me what happened. I'll try to diagnose. I'm feeling sick. Okay, but it doesn't give me subscription, right? It's still giving me a rep response. Why? Because I have not changed my prompt yet. So you can go back to main.m. Now I can have to change my prompt here. So right now you're a famous medical American rapper with golden heart, right? So I don't want to have this prompt. So I maybe like first I copy paste. Just in case something goes wrong, I can always refer to the previous setup, and I commented this one out. So now I need to change I need to become a doctor, not become a rapper, right? So what I will do is that I'll try to apply like what we learned in prompt engineering theory. You are an experienced doctor with experience doc. You are a doctor with 20 years of medical experience. Give the setup. I will share my symptom. The good thing is that like GPT can actually recognize like a typo as well. So if I'm not confident with the word, right, it's still able to magically kind of recognize that what I meant is symptoms. In response, generate a short paragraph about possible sickness, about possible sickness, and how can and probably like how can I and best way to recover your exponential exit. Okay, I'll put this for the time being, right? Now I change my prompt. I publish again. By the way, guys, if you find it a bit too fast, like you can always go back to YouTube and then like play back, so that like I did it a little bit faster because we have a lot of things to cover. But just in case that it's going too fast, you can always like rewind and then like look at the step by step, one by one again. Okay. So I go back. I have a bad flu. Oh, slide. Now it changes the prompt. So now I transform like basically entire Fan GPT into basically a doctor GPT, right? So I hope like that covers it. But right now it's simpler because like we are using a system prompt where you don't have to change you just have to use one prompt and then like that's it. You don't have to assemble everything else. And then the prompt will always be activated throughout the conversation, right? So and it also remembers the past as well, because now I already like disable the max conversation. So if I ask the doctor, say like I have work tomorrow, right? What is the fastest way to recover, for example? Then it's still able to remember the past that my past input, the fact that I have a bad flu yesterday, or I have a bad flu today. So that's the good part of system prompt, because it can remember, and that's the benefit of remembering the past. Thanks so much. Why do you think it happens? It still remember my past conversation, the fact that I have a flu. So that's the good part about system prompt. Yeah. So, but I still have like this reset Fan GPT, right? Okay, I don't like this, so I have to go back and then make sure that I change the reset Fan GPT to reset medical GPT, and then I have to change this one as well. If I change the queue, I also have to change basically this part as well. Oh, okay, maybe I can just say reset GPT because I have medical GPT. Otherwise, it's going to be matched here. Reset GPT. So you have to make sure that the queue and the button matches. Otherwise, it's not going to match. It's not going to be able to respond. Okay. Where's the Fan GPT response code like Fan GPT ask? Fan GPT here is not a response. Fan GPT is just a variable that basically an empty pocket that we have in the code to store my chat GPT response here. So right now, I am storing my last input, my last conversation into a conversation history called medical GPT ask, and I pass the output of the prompt into the response. So it's just an empty shell. So it's not basically a code. Yeah. Should we not change the file name as well? Yes, you have to change it. But if I need to change the file name, for example, I change this one to medical GPT, right? Medical GPT conversations and medical GPT messages, right? Let's say if I change this one, right? I need to change the include as well. The name in the include as well. Otherwise, if I do test, it causes an error, can't find topics. So I need to change this one as well. And I need to change the conversation as well. Don't switch the topic. Don't switch the sequence, because the message is always like, comes first before like conversations. Right. Yeah, because of the way we set up the prompt. So the messages is always on top of conversation. Don't switch it, otherwise it will not work. Okay, yeah, but thanks for the question, Vivian. I think this is an important note to discuss. Okay, now I know it's a bit fast, so if you, I mean, let's say if you want to take a pause, like please post it on YouTube. I mean, just pause on YouTube and then like you can always like watch it later on. But I would want to go through to Rap GPT, which is a different kind of prompt engineering setup. So maybe I disable the medical GPT first so that I can activate my Rap GPT. I click save and I test. Okay, it works. So for me, I always like to test and test because otherwise, like if I test less, I mean too few, I mean if I don't do it often, right, then I will not be able to know or where if something goes wrong, I don't know what causes it lah. So I think it's good practice to always do small changes and then save, test, then small changes, save, test, small changes, save and test. So now let's move on to Rap GPT, right? So Rap GPT is a bit different. So if we enable Rap GPT, right? Right now I need to go to introduction first. Let's say change my medical GPT to Rap GPT, and then yeah, just change the button name. And then if I click published, I reset Rap GPT. Now let's explore how Rap GPT works. Rap GPT is quite interesting as well because we are using another kind of prompt called user prompt. So user prompt means that it's different from system prompt. So user prompt is actually another setup where the prompt is not loaded at the very start when you try to switch on your chatbot. So the good thing is that you can actually like input some value into the prompt, right? Where at the end of the day your prompt output will be different because you can customize the prompt itself from the user input. So right now I have a Rap GPT, right? And he asked like, well, who is the person or object would you like to rap about, right? And let's say I want to tap, I say my cat, for example, right? So which language do you want me to rap? Japanese. How are you feeling about the person? I'm feeling angry, right? Now it's able to actually like generate a rap, right? Given my input. Why is that and how it works? So we'll actually like discuss it step by step in main.m. So hopefully by now you are familiar with Friend GPT, right? So Rap GPT is another way. It's another way for us to create basically a prompt, which is I think like opens up a lot of possibilities. So again, like in for Rap GPT, right? One set consists of conversations.m and consists of messages.m. So conversation is like similar, right, to basically Friend GPT, but the difference is that in my conversations, right, if you take a look at this, I mean at the conversation that the Rap GPT tries to ask for user input to be injected into the prompt. So in this case, it starts similarly with Friend GPT, but instead of going straight to the room where it contains where it executes the prompt, which is the last one to generate the rap, it moves on to different rooms where we can actually like ask for user input and store the user input. So maybe I'll go through the end product of the prompt first, right? So in this end product of this prompt, I'm actually trying to include 3 different user inputs, right? to customize my, sorry, one, two, three, yeah, 3 user inputs to customize my prompt output. So this is my prompt, right? I'm feeling something. So right now, just now I put sad, right? So I'm angry, I think. I'm feeling angry because of who? Let's say my input just now, my cat, for example, right? So I'm feeling angry because of my cat. Generate a 3-paragraph rap with 4 short sentences per paragraph that describes about my feeling. You need to strictly a rap in language, Japanese language. You need to heavily include my cat as word in your rap. So this kind of use cases, right, opens up to whole new possibilities actually. So for example, if you want to create a ChatGPT, right, that can generate like an adventure, for example, right, basically a role play or basically an educational adventure, right, that discuss about certain topics, for example, right, you can actually do that. So for example, I want to, let's say, like, create adventure that a medieval adventure that teaches about secondary school math, for example, right? You can basically customize it, right? So which kind of, like, what subject would you like this ChatGPT to teach? Mathematics. And then, like, the second question is that, like, what is the style of the adventure? Is it medieval style? Is it futuristic? Or is it, for example, like, is it like, recent events? And the third question is that which character would you like to play, for example, right? Maybe like a United President of USA, a Prime Minister of Singapore, or maybe, like, maybe an archaeologist, or maybe a teacher, or maybe some, I mean, I don't know, like a Grab driver or something else. So that opens up to a lot of possibilities in terms of, like, how you can customize your chatbot. So for me personally, I like this one better, but it's a little bit more, it requires a little bit more setup, So let's go through step by step on how it works, right? So yeah, take a deep breath and let's take step by step on how it works. So the first input is, the first question is that, I mean, the first Q&A is RapGPT, right? This is where you click RapGPT, it generates this response, right? Welcome to RapGPT. Tell me how you are feeling today. I'll generate a short rap that describes your feeling, right? Who is the person or object you would like to rap about? And then, because I need to be able to basically give the user freedom to type anything as an input. So I need to create a room, basically a room where I can isolate the user response from IDK situation, right, or I don't know situation. So now what I do is that whatever the user responds, it will actually, like, direct this response into a rep input where it contains another question. So right now, let's say if I type who is the person I like to rap about, right? Let's say I type maybe Obama, for example, right? Then Obama is going to be passed into this one, and then I will actually store, like, my user response, which is Obama, into a rep input mem or variable here. I drop it. So I drop the drop is actually a command to drop the input into my variable here, rep input. I dropped it, but I want to ask another question, right? Like, which language do you want me to rap, for example? So in this case, there's a clear. So clear is actually, like, what clear means is that clear means going out to the room. So I want to clear my room just now. So right now I'm in rep input. If I don't clear my room, right? So my response here is not going to go out into another room called rep language. It's always trapped all the time into rep input. So that's why in this case, I need to go out of the room and I need to enter another room. So clear means that I go out of rooms. In this case, my rep input room. I need to enter another room called rep language, where I can ask another question that stores input about the rep language. So I go out of rep input, I enter rep language here. Now I enter the rep language, right? Then which language do you want me to rep? Let's say I type Japanese. So right now, same as rep input, I need to store my last response, which is Japanese, and store it into a rep language, and then I drop it there. So drop is a command, basically. Is a code to drop the value into a specific, basically a container or variable. So this is the second step. Then the last question is that how are you feeling about that person or object, right? Now I can actually clear and I go straight to generate rep, basically, right? So this is my last input here. So what it does is that now I have two inputs already, right? I store my rep input, I store my rep language, and then now I want to store the third input, which is my feeling, right? Or the tone of the rep itself, right? So now I'm also storing it into basically my response, basically. But what it does is that it actually goes to, I store my last input and then I activate my prompt. So previously, right, in FriendGPT, right, you don't see any kind of FriendGPT ask prompt here because FriendGPT is already loading the prompt into the system. That means that you don't have to basically customize you don't have to basically load the prompt again and then put it into as an input to your ChatGPT because you are using system prompt. System prompt automatically store the prompt into the system, but you can't change it. But in this case, I need to pass the prompt, the user prompt, as part of the input. So this is the same way as when you are using ChatGPT, right? So let's say so instead of maybe like if you use ChatGPT here, right? So what I do is that in this case for user prompt, right? I need to pass my prompt here as part of the input here, like this. So this is like how it works when we are using user prompt. But right now, the difference is that because now we are using our own integration, right? So in this case, I can actually take up the rep input and rep language into my prompt itself. So right now, if I type here Japanese, right? So basically, I'm feeling sad, for example, because of my cat. I need to city lab in English or Japanese, and then basically it generates the same input as same response as in your OpenAI because you are trying to pass the prompt into as the input as well. So this is the difference between the RepGPT and FriendGPT. So right now in my chatbot, I need to take like all this input, right? So I need to take this. Let's say I'm feeling sad right now, right? I need to take that input. I need to pass it to the prompt. So my prompt also contain the feeling as well. I need to pass, let's say, my last sentence, right? Or my last question, which is I'm feeling sad, into this. And then it will generate basically it will basically generate, I will pass the entire prompt to my input the same way as I'm putting my input into ChatGPT here. So that's the difference. And then because I also want to have more instruction, right? I put another instruction here, basically another text another pre-built text to just showcase an instruction to our users that if you want to reset, you can just click reset here or going back to main menu lah. So this is the prompt output, and this is my my basically predefined prompt, so that you can actually click reset at GPT and go back to normal, go back to the initial condition. Okay, it's a little bit more complicated, but maybe so far, any question? Can we use a user prompt GPT for medical purposes? Yes, that's precisely it. I think someone else actually built that before, right? So let's say if I want to put it into a medical, like, GPT, right? Instead of asking like, the rep input, right? I will actually, change this to like, what are the symptoms, and maybe like how long, like, have you had this, how long have you had this condition? And then do you have any medical past, let's say past, do you have any like have you encountered, or which country have you traveled in the past, right? In the past, like, in the last 6 months, right? And then in your prompt itself, you can generate a medical, like, prompt, an instructions, and then you can insert that as well, like the number of years, oh sorry, yeah, the symptom, the medical history, your country travel, your previous country destination, right? Just change this one. Let's say, for example, like, medical condition, for example, right? And then condition, let's say travel history, and then travel, and then let's say my last question is like, um medical history, right? Medical history. Then I just have to change edit my prompt, and then change it to one medical history, and then condition and travel. So you can do that basically. Yeah. Is there maximum length for the input? Can we input a short paragraph? Yes, there's no limit. You can actually type, when you can type like, entire paragraph there. But then like remember to take a look at the props, the number of max tokens, because if you are trying to put a past history, right, you also need to consider like, the previous conversation as into your token calculation as well. So you have to basically remember that lah. But in this case, right, if the difference between Rep GPT is that we don't really include like, previous history, because like Rep GPT here, right, is actually a single task. You gather and then you put into a single task. You gather, you put into a single task. If you want to basically like, create, let's say, to continue, right? For example, after this one, right, I want to continue talking, modifying my rep, for example, right? Your rep is too long. Yeah. Then like it's not triggered, right? So you need to disable this one. And you need to enable this one. Don't forget to change it to Rep GPT ask. Rep GPT ask. And this one. So if you don't want to store the past conversation because it slows you down, you can use this one. You can use this, but don't forget to kind of make the name similar. But if you want to store if you want to take into account of the past data, you need to include this part and this one. Yeah, and you have to declare, I think, Rep GPT message history as mem. Yeah, but right now in this case, like, we don't have to store historical data because it's actually a single use kind of like, answer, response. Can we let them select from the list of words, inputting that selection into GPT, or limiting the response to our selected list? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So I'll demo it like now, right? You can actually put button into your conversation as well. So maybe, right, let's say instead of like maybe allowing them to just put any kind of language, right? I want to modify I want to basically limit the language, right, to let's say 3, for example, right? English, bahasa, Chinese. No, I think you have to put Indonesia as well, because I think ChatGPT only need to have more context, right? Something like that. And then when you publish again, okay, I make some changes right now, but just ignore this one first, because I think I make some changes on the prompt itself, right? So ignore the error. But what I'm going to show you is that you can actually like use button as to minimize the number of selection. So same way as you put buttons to other places. Last question is module syntax. Yes, yes, it's the pre-setup that we prepared behind the scene. Is it possible to add system prompt as well or to wrap GPT? No, unfortunately, like OpenAI API doesn't allow the use of system prompt and user prompt at the same time. So it's going to be a little bit confusing in the API translation lah. You can, but it will be a little bit more complicated. And sometimes, right, we don't also discourage like using system prompt and user prompt together, because it might be conflicting. Like it can confuse the AI itself. Type GPT is a variable, but we derive it from ask basically. So this is a variable basically. You can customize this one. So Rap GPT gives a single response, even if the comment out makes conversation, whereas Trend GPT is more conversational. Yes, you are right. So for this setting, right, like for this setting, like Trend GPT is actually used for conversational type. I think system prompt is more suitable for conversation type kind of task, while the user prompt is more suitable to basically more like how you say that, more a single task lah. But I actually like, for this purpose, right, because we are short on time, but if we have more time, right, actually I want to show you about a new template that I have, where I kind of like use called Ola, which is a sales trainer, where I can actually like create a conversation, right, and then like using a user prompt. Yeah, but I think this one is a bit complex because it uses multiple prompt, but the mechanically speaking, right, there's no difference than how we operate Rap GPT basically. Even if you put button, user can still type other inputs. Yes, yes, but it's less likely. If user sees button, right, they can just type it lah. But you can't. If you want to control that, right, you have to define it on a system prompt. Yeah, only respond if your users type English, Bahasa Indonesia, or Chinese, or for example, like you can do that lah. Friend GPT system prompt, yes, and GPT is user prompt. Okay, I cannot find Ola. I demo the Ola quickly. Yes, I would like to demo, but maybe before that, Jeremy, do you want, because now it's 4 o'clock, right? Maybe some of you would like to we need to go. Do you want to share the survey first before we jump into like multi-prompt?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Christian.
Yeah.
So for those of you here, thanks very much to Christian for sharing and running today's masterclass. So for those of you who have joined us, maybe I'll just skip straight to the end. So I'd like to trouble you to help us do this survey. Maybe if you can, if for those of you who are living now, you can just scan this QR code, or I will drop the link into the Zoom chat box and also in the Telegram group. So your feedback is very valuable to us. So do share with us your honest feedback. This will help us improve. So I'll just leave this on screen for maybe a couple more seconds. For those of you on YouTube, can also just always trace back to this particular slide. Okay. But other than this, I won't take up too much of the time. Maybe Christian can take the time back to answer more of the participants' queries.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to share the link of Ola, but yeah, I do understand that for some of you, right, this might, I mean, there are a lot of info like for this session, because I think it's actually like we have to really treat the GPT code carefully. So for those of you who like to maybe like who like to leave after this, I mean, you can also leave, but I think like for the benefit of others who like to see like how multi-prompt ChatGPT works, I don't mind extending it to include this one, I mean Ola, which is a multi-prompt GPT. So maybe just to check as well, like just to test the water, right? How many of you would like to stop and how many of you would like to continue? Maybe you, yeah. Okay. Can someone respond from YouTube as can someone from YouTube respond as well? So I can get some kind of like some kind of survey. Okay, I think continue. Okay, for Zoom participants, a lot of people wants to continue. But yeah. You can always like watch this part. I mean, after like after the session lah. So I think for the benefit of others, I'll continue to demo a little bit about Aula, which is like a multi-prompt chatbot. And maybe like just to give you some kind of quick reasoning behind this. Yeah. Okay. For just to clarify for submission, like tomorrow, right? If you have not had time to apply ChatGPT into your chatbot, it's okay. But try your best to kind of like implement today's lesson, right? To your tomorrow submission lah. I think I would like to see also what your ideas you have in mind, so that on the third session we can kind of customize our lessons, right, to fit into what you are building. So because I understand that this prompt engineering part is a little bit heavy and we only have like one day tomorrow. So before we continue, right, for those of you who who have not had time yet to implement GPT, I think just submit what you can for tomorrow. But for me, right, I think try your best to submit. Try your best to at least test like how you can modify the ChatGPT modules. If it fails, it's okay. I rather like receive a failed a chatbot with failed ChatGPT attempt other than a chatbot without ChatGPT module. Yeah, because yeah, I mean it's just part of learning process lah. Yeah. Okay. So maybe like I'll continue to demo about a little bit about Aula, which I think uses like multiple like prompts to actually operate. And Aula actually like we try to use Rap GPT, but we also try to enable conversation using a user prompt. And yeah, so this is how it works. So I'll go through like what Aula is about and how it actually what kind of capability it has. So Aula is a chatbot I created basically like 3 days ago, because I'm quite excited with what you guys are creating. So thank you so much for the inspiration. But this is this meant to be a friendly sales coach and companion. So if you want to learn like sales conversation or how to converse in sales, you can use Aula. I try to simplify the prompt so it affects the performance as well, but at least there are some kind of techniques that we apply in Aula which you can actually try attempt it yourself. So Aula will start from creating a role play scenario, right? So the first thing is that like the Aula will ask is that they will ask actually like your details to create a scenario, basically a sales scenario lah. So let's try it, right? How long have you been doing sales in years? Let's say 5. Very similar to Rap GPT, right? Which industry or sector are you from? Let's say I'm from fashion industry, right? What type of customers would you like to sell this product to? Because I think like sometimes like we want to learn how to do B2B sales. Sometimes we also want to learn how to do B2C sales, right? So let's say I want to learn how to do, I want to simulate B2C sales, right? Let's say consumer. Then before we generate this info, please check your setting. So this is just an basically like this is just a feature to kind of recall the past conversation, right? Or past user value, right? If I'm okay with this, I can click generate. If I don't like this, I can reset the role play setup. I click generate right now. Okay, now this is my scenario, right? Like my product is fashion forward, a trendy, affordable clothing line for young adults. The difficulty level is medium. My customer profile is a fashion blogger and social media influencer. She's passionate about sustainable fashion and blah, 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 right? Are you happy with this setup? If yes, click setup conversation to proceed. Otherwise, I can click regenerate, right? So let's say I'm not happy with this setup, right? Maybe I want to regenerate another one. Have another kind of setup, right? Okay, now instead of selling like clothes, I'm selling like accessories, right? Sunglasses or jewelry pieces, right? And my profile, my user audience is target audience is a marketing manager. She's interested in fashion, let's say, or socializing and traveling. Let's say I'm happy with this setup, right? Now I load this setup using mem, and then I recall it to, I store it, and then I try to check with my users whether like do they really like this, or do they want just to double check lah, basically. Yeah. And then what I do is that I pass this input into my second prompt, which is to start a role play. So yeah, hello, I'm Sarah Thompson. I'm in search of some stylish fashion accessories. I've been looking for pieces that can elevate my outfits and personal touch. Do you have any recommendation? So now this is where my second prompt actually starts. And my second prompt should be able to facilitate conversation. Yeah. So type your response, right? Hi Sarah, I'm Andy, for example, right? We do have selections of high or premium accessories. Which factors are important for you? Then he can answer like, for me, quality of the accessory is important, blah, 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 facility is a key factor. And then, can you show me what you have in that fits this criteria, right? Oh, that's great. We have we have premium. We have these, I mean, beautiful necklace, let's say, from USA that is durable and stylish, especially for office wear. Like maybe I just like yeah. Then like itu our necklace, what material is made of, and all that blah blah blah. Material is good, durable with 5 years warranty. So it remembers like and stores like past conversations. And then what I do is that I want to analyze my performance, right? So let's say I want to end the conversation, right? When I click end conversation, this is where I can activate my third prompt, which is basically like an analysis of my my sales performance. Now, because I just anyhow type, so it actually gives me a very bad rating for my my sales report lah, my training report basically, and it kind of is able to tell me like, you know, where I'm lacking, and then like what is the room for improvements, and then it kind of it takes some examples in my conversations, and then like show me the example just to prove a point that, like, you know, my product knowledge is not so bad lah, something like that. So this is the third prompt. So what I did, so there are actually 3 different prompts that act differently. which is that completes basically a certain flow, right? Number one, I need to generate a sales scenario. Number two, I need to execute a conversation. Number three, I need to document all my conversations and put it into basically like, an evaluation report. So the question is that why not just combine all three at once, right? We tried combining it before actually, but the issue is that the ChatGPT, right? The longer your prompt is, I know, like, I know, like, basically, like, people's, like, our prompt tend to be very long because we want to fine tune it. We want to have some kind of condition. We have a lot of description to make sure that the prompt is performing well, right? But realistically speaking, right, the longer your prompt, the lower the higher the tendency it is to miss the instruction. So I think, like, in OpenAI, right? OpenAI does some research. Basically, for OpenAI models, the instructions in the first part of the prompt is more likely to be executed than the bottom part of the prompt. So if I ask them to translate to English in the very last part compared to the top part, it's less likely to be executed if you put your instructions in the bottom part. While in other language, other LLMs, right, it's the opposite happen. They prioritize the bottom part and the top part. But in any case, the longer your prompt, the more likely it is to miss out the instructions. So what I do behind the scene is that instead of writing one longer prompt, which is impossible, like, which makes ChatGPT impossible to execute everything, I slice the prompt into different process. So I won't go through a bit more detail, but I'll show you, like, the code behind this chatbot. You can also download the chatbot here, multi-prompt role play chatbot. But how it works is that in this case, right, I have to set up 3 different prompts. First one is to generate the role play. The second one is to generate the conversation, while I by passing this output of this role play scenario into this prompt. The third one is to generate the evaluation prompt. So how it works in the conversation, right? I will not go through much detail, but just to give you some overview on how it works. The step one is to ask them questions like ChatGPT, right? To generate a conversation, basically to generate to collect user input. What is your sales experience? What is your industry background? And then after that, what is your customer profile? And the only difference is that, like, I try to pass the value from mem and portray that back into the conversation, just to make sure that, like, okay, my users knows that they input the right parameters, right? So you can do that also by just, like, put dollar value and then sales experience here. Okay, industry background and then type of customers, you can just recall back. And then if they want to restart, they can also click generate. So generate, my generate button, right, is actually located on the same place as the basically, like, my regenerate and generate is located on the same, is mapped to the same, basically, like, prompt executions, because, like, I want them to whatever I want to regenerate or restart or generate, right? The command is the same, or the instructions are the same. It produces a prompt and then it outputs a result. Yeah. And yeah, so, and the second part is to set up conversation to begin the conversation. And this is where we encounter a lots of some issues, because when I tried myself, like, without the examples, ChatGPT often, like, switch themselves not as a customer but as a salesman. It happens like 60% of the time. So I mean, it's wrong more often than it's right. So what I did is that I put some examples here, just to make sure that you remember that, like, you know, you are the customer and I am playing a role as a salesman. As I, as a trainee, need to play a role as a salesman. So yeah, and I try to put, I take a deep breath and I put things step by step. It doesn't really improve much. But once I give some example, right? Like, for example, if the product is here, your answer should be like this, right? It becomes like, it becomes, I mean, it answers correctly as a customer 95% of the time. So this is where I think like what is called by few shot prompting, where inside prompts, right? Just to make sure that it is correct, right? You try to put some examples within that prompt itself. Yeah. And then after that, on the conversation itself, let's say I want to end my conversation, right? So my trigger for report evaluation is this end conversation. And what I did is that I need to be able to record the past history data, right, into my and shove it into my evaluation, right? But the good thing is that actually, like, once they start begin conversation here, right, I already, like, you know, activate my my history, like, you know, my message history basically. So the conversation, right, from the start of the conversation is already recorded. So what I did is that what I do in here is that I don't have to basically pass the historical data anymore. So the GPT remember the past history, and then what I did is just to insert a new prompt to evaluate. So I stop, and then you look at my past historical conversations, evaluate them. So I don't need to like use API to store the past conversation, right? Because instead of doing that, I'm trying to basically send an instruction, a hidden instruction here, to ask the GPT, right, to rate my conversation based on the historical data from here. Yeah. And I purposely don't store the historical data, my conversation data, when I start to generate my for my when the part, I mean, at the part when I generate my scenario, because it becomes a noise, right? So I only try to store like the data once the conversation starts. Yeah. Yeah. So this is how it works. And that's the benefit of, like, you know, doing like multiple prompts, breaking down into like the process, right, into a sub process, and then put multiple prompts on each stage, because it kind of it ensures, like, you know, more accuracy due to the shorter prompt. Yeah. So hopefully this gives you some ideas on like how to use multiple prompts. Of course, like, you know, we can't just, like, you know, it's difficult to understand like on a single glance, because like it takes a little bit of time for me to build this template as well. But I hope you can, if you want to kind of like see how it works, you can look at you can download the template and then look at this video, repeat several times just to internalize the mechanics behind it lah. Can you show again the codes from the start for start storing the conversation? Yeah, this is the start of this is the code to actually, like, you know, store the conversation, right? The message history, right? And where do I put this one? I put this one in okay, I put this part, right, in the prompt itself. So when the prompt to generate to start a conversation starts, it also starts the 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 collection of message history, because behind here I put role play conversation ask as well, which also triggers this one. So the storing of conversation starts when my second prompt is activated. Yeah. So if I say if I type, I have a basically like let's say if I type message history, right? Because I think I put in this template I put a shortcut to look at the basically like the API that is going to be passed, right? I think let me just check which one. I think I put it display message, yeah. So if I put display messages, no, sorry, display message. Yeah, the first conversation is actually the first conversation start is when the prompt is activated. So this is the start of the conversation here, and then the end of the conversation, right? Yeah. So this is where when I type end conversation, it stops recording. Yeah. Yeah. So this is how basically like it works like. So if you want to copy, you can also do this as well. You can copy paste this this syntax, right, to check also like what the historical data lah, basically the past history of, I mean the message history of that is going to be pushed to API, to your ChatGPT API. So you just have to change the role play conversation history and change it to basically like change it to whatever name that you put in this part. Yeah. For YouTube as well, I'll put it on YouTube. I mean, yeah. So I think that's okay. Any questions so far? Maybe just before we end the session today. I know we are overshot by 20 minutes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks, Stephen. I'm pretty sure that I hope that like some of you are able to kind of apply this idea, because I'm really looking forward to see like what else can this idea be applied. I'm also like actually using this idea to generate a FYP, basically final year paper, right? So we do have some project with the with MOE Indonesia, right, to generate basically to allow like basically to allow our students, right, to generate basically their own like synopsis and research paper title lah, basically. So I think I put it on. Yeah, it's called Scripsy GPT. So Scripsy means like FYP, and then like what it does is that like you can actually like I use the same template, and then this is like in Bahasa Indonesia, but what it does is that I ask them about their basically their major, right? Let's say I'm from chemical engineering, for example. And then what's your favorite subject, for example? And I like, let's say, supply chain, right? Management. Also, this is in Bahasa Indonesia because I think we are building this for Indonesian government lah. So and then like I need to check like this is your major, and then this is your favorite basically module lah. And then I click here to create a list of titles, research titles in Bahasa Indonesia. And let's say they generate like a list of 5 titles, right? If I don't like any of them, I can just like restart. And I copy paste this one. Let's say if I like one of the title, right? I can just copy paste, and then I generate a synopsis basically. So it they claim that because of this, right? Like it kind of like it helps them kickstart the FYP project, and instead of like maybe like spending like a few hours to think of a research subject, right? You can just generate the title and synopsis in 1 minute. So yeah, so this is another use case of ChatGPT. I'm sure there are other use cases that you can think about. So yeah, just to show you the possibilities lah. If you have any idea, just share it over to us on Telegram group, and then we'll try to create some template that you can play around with. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's all from me. Thank you so much for spending the time today. Sorry that it exceeded more than 20 minutes, but yeah, looking forward to seeing your chatbot powered by ChatGPT lah. Yeah, let me know if you have any question. Okay, guys, have a good Saturday. See you guys next week.